It's TommyTopdecker back in the house once again with another video just for you. And the question of the day, folks, let's get right to it. Is MetaZoo worth playing? Is it worth collecting? Let's get right into it. MetaZoo release event box right here. What it contains is a pre-constructed deck, some boosters, and a promo card. Most importantly, a rulebook. So let's go ahead and take a look at this rulebook. I've gone ahead and read through it, so you don't have to. Actually, the game MetaZoo, it's quite similar to Magic the Gathering. Very similar, in fact. Now, there are some different terms that will confuse you initially, so I've gone ahead and made a glossary right here. When you see something called a chapter, talking about your hand, to bookmark a card means to draw a card. A spellbook is a deck. Aura is kind of like a mana. Caster is more like a player. This is very interesting. Contract means to play. So you say contract a card, it means to play a card. Now that's really interesting. I'll come back to that. Fatigue, a card means to tap it. And LP or life points is like the life or toughness of a creature. Now you know what, folks? I have to say I understand why they use some of these terms. Like you want to call tap fatigue, I'm on board with that. Like caster and player meaning is straightforward, but some of this stuff's a little bit weird. Like I don't understand why you can't just say draw a card. Why you have to say bookmark a card? Dude, that's just confusing. It seems to add confusion for no good reason. Also, contract a card means to play a card. To me, that's a bit confusing. I think it's going to cause problems, especially for non-English speakers. Because contract can be a verb, contract can be a noun. It's not really clear which one is being used here. How to use this word contract or contract, or contraction. Is someone pregnant here? I don't know what's going on. This is the term they chose. This is the lingo they chose, but. Yeah, like I said, folks, let's get used to it. I guess I get used to it after a while. So let's look at one of the cards right now. And as I said, folks, the game is very, very similar to Magic. Like, if you know how to play Magic, you can probably learn to play just the basics of MetaZoo in about 5 minutes. And let's just go over the basics of a card. I have a card here. As you see, the card name in this case is Jersey Devil. Beastie, they call creatures beasties in this game. Demon, that's like the type of the card. Like summon demon, summon skeleton, what have you. I think 1 per spell book. That means you can have 1 of these in your deck. Okay, see this 4 moon. Okay, so this is the mana cost right here. So basically, it takes 4 night mana. I think 4 night mana in order to play this guy. So it's like it costs 4 swamps to play, 4 black mana, except 4 night aura they'd use, I guess, in the MetaZoo lingo. So basically, it's a 4 casting cost guy, and it's 4 specific colors. So you got to play, you got to be heavy into this night mana, I guess, in order to play this guy. Cause it's basically 4 specific. And 70, that's the guy's toughness or his life. You see right here, 50 fiery stampede. This is his attack. So basically, he's like a 50-70 creature. You can think of that. His power is like 50. His toughness is 70. Let's see. You notice this this icon here, this flamey thingy. So if he attacks something or somebody, you can burn them, and that causes some more damage. Now, what are these things on the left side? So these first 2 things are some attributes. This wing thing is flying. So basically, he can't be attacked by certain creatures unless they fly. I'm not sure what this mouth thing is. Maybe it's like bloodlust or something. Like he gains life for every damage he deals. I forget what it is. But we got to reference the rulebook for that. And then you have these fourth wall attributes, they call them. It's very interesting. So if you play the game in a forest, yeah, that's right, folks. If you're like playing in a forest, then he gets plus 25 toughness and plus 25 power. If you're playing at night, then he gets plus 25 power, plus 25 toughness. And as a competitive game, at first I thought, this fourth wall stuff is a bit strange, a bit hokey. I didn't really like it at first, and then I started reading more, and it turns out that let's say you're playing during the daytime, right? And you're playing a card that maybe has some bonus for the nighttime, like this Jersey Devil guy here. So basically, there are these other cards. I think they're called Terra cards. Basically, you can just play them, and basically you can get the effects of night. So basically, even if it's daytime, you play your Jersey Devil, then boom, you drop out your nighttime card, and hey, you know what? For the purpose of your cards, it's nighttime, and this guy gets his bonus. So I can definitely see like maybe this game could break it into competitive with like some variant of rules where like you don't basically the attributes of the arena, let's say, or the world attributes don't really matter. Like it doesn't really matter what the actual time is. It just matters if you have like one of these nighttime terror cards, played, because that, obviously you really can't have a competitive game where you have like, funky stuff. I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work as a competitive game if you do, just weird stuff like, oh, he gets a bonus because it's nighttime. I mean, come on, man, that doesn't work. And also, you're going to see this card's really funky. It has a funky thing like, when you contract Jersey Devil, you're dealt 50 damage unless you produce a blood-curdling scream. Now, like, do you want folks screaming in the middle of your tournament? I don't know if that's really going to work either. But I could see, like I said, I could see some variant rules for serious competitive play, like where basically you just ignore that kind of fourth wall stuff, and you just basically stick to the cards, and you stick to these terror cards to give the guys a bonus. So like I said, folks, very similar to Magic. You play one aura a turn, one land a turn. You pay 4, you tap 4 aura, play this guy. Like basically creatures default come into play tapped. The one interesting thing, it's kind of like Hearthstone in that creatures can attack creatures or they can attack players. And in addition, you can kind of defend your own creatures. So like if you attack my Jersey Devil and I have something else untapped, I can tap my other guy to like step in the way, and you basically you'll attack my defender rather than my Jersey Devil. So the combat system very similar to Magic, very similar to Hearthstone. You may wonder, like 50 damage. Wow, 50, 70 creatures, that's huge. Well, there's actually 1,000. The life points in this game are 1,000, so you got to scale it to that. So 50 divided by 1,000 is a 1/20th, right? So it's like a 1. So 50 is like 1. It's like 1/20th of the life total of your opponent. Now, so now you see a little bit how this game works. I hope. If you're a Magic player, you probably you're getting a feel for the game. So this is okay. Dark Aura. That's what it is. Dark Aura. And this is basically like a land. You play one of these every turn. Draw 7 cards to begin with. Draw 1 card a turn. Play your creatures. Attack the opponent or attack their creature. And here's the spell. Bookmark 2 pages from the top of your spell book. Translation: draw 2 cards from your deck. Okay, so you see how kind of the lingo gets a little bit confusing. So overall, I think the game, it can work. It can work. I have some complaints about it. So let's get into the complaints here. All right, game wise, let's pull out this rulebook for a second. I got some problems. Number one problem. So there's this. I'll say in general, there's a lot of stuff to keep track of. So like Hearthstone, your creatures, or your beasties, as they say, when they take damage, basically the damage sticks on them. So you need some way of recording damage. And you might say, okay, use D6s. But it turns out that there's there's not only a damage that can be dealt in increments of 10, there's also increments of 5. So now you have kind of a dilemma. Like a D6 is not going to work if you have to, like 65 damage, right? So it gets a little bit tricky there. In addition, there's many effects like burned and poisoned and this and that, and it's just tons of stuff to keep track of, it seems. And I'll even mention the life totals too. 1,000. You start with 1,000. You start subtracting from 1,000. That's like you don't make D1000s, right? I guess you could use paper, right? But it's going to get a little bit hairy with all that subtraction and stuff. Just tons of stuff to keep track of. It's not ideal. All right. And speaking of things to keep track of, there are way too many. I think I call them traits. Way too many abilities. And like if you go back to the original Magic, you'll see that like creatures had banding, first strike, and so forth. And yeah, you had to know what first strike meant. You had to know what banding meant. You had to know what trample meant. But Magic cards originally, and still do, they don't contain funky symbols to represent trample. They just say trample, right? There's no like sword that means first strike. There's no wing that means flying. So basically in Magic, you got to read it and translate what you read into the game ability. But in MetaZoo, you got to translate this symbol into some meaning and translate that that meaning into what it actually does. And it's a bit much, to be honest. Let's look at here. Let's look at this. So you have these are all the effects here. Let's bring up the traits right here. I think they call them traits. Is that what they're called? Traits here. Let's pull it out here. All right, yeah. So traits. So basically, these are all the different things that creatures can do, like the banding, trample, flanking, phasing. Just too much stuff, man. It's too much stuff, especially for the first version. Bloodsucker, burrow, convert, destroyer, defender, fear, first strike, flash, fleet, flight, Magic-proof, Immortal, Infectious, and okay, see, it's just too much stuff, guys. It's too much stuff. I mean, you got to know the symbol, and you got to know what the meaning of the effect is. It's too much. Like, you're gonna have to reference this rulebook a ton for many hours until you're gonna get some idea. And even then, I think you're still gonna have to refer back to it. Same with the fourth wall effects. Like, I guess some of them are kind of self-explanatory. Okay, farm, dusk, desert, daytime, city, meteor shower. Okay, so I guess these aren't probably so bad. You can probably guess most of them, but it's still a lot of stuff. And then okay, the effects. So basically, an attack of a beastie can apply some extra stuff, and this falls into the keeping track of too much stuff. But also you got to keep track of it. You also have to know what it is, and confusion, paralyze, poison. I'll point out that frozen, the icon for frozen and burn is just so similar to each other. Actually, it's kind of hard to see, to be honest. I think it's poorly designed, and this is really bad. This I gotta say is really poor. They call it weaknesses and strength, the arrow wheel. So if you play Pokemon, you know that Pokemon have strengths or weaknesses. Some Pokemon might be strong against lightning or weak against thunder or something, but it says on the card, right? But in MetaZoo, there's this implied relationship. So this shows you what aura types are strong against other aura types. It's like, who's going to remember this? There's the cards don't really tell you directly. You just have to know it, I guess. And it's just man, it's like, I really have to memorize this to play. I think most people are gonna forget this or skip over it. Yeah, so it seems like the game isn't quite all there. I'll be honest with you. I want to cut them a little bit of slack, because if you look back at the original Magic, like, first of all, they had some funky things like Anti, Chaos Orb. There are also just some misprints, some cards that didn't really work, like Cyclopean Tomb with no casting cost. Karma Channel, they had a lot of those. There were some funky textual things on Birds of Paradise, Unsummon, and Alpha, things like that. They fixed those in beta, but those were around. So I kind of want to cut a little bit of slack, but I think there are just too many things. And I want to make one last point about this. Okay, speaking of too many things to keep track of. Okay, let's read poison here. So poison. All right, it says poison can affect beasties or casters. All right, if something is poisoned, it loses 10 LP each time it's been poisoned for 2 turns. You can be poisoned up to 3 times at once. All right, so your poison counters. Okay, you can have up to 3 poison counters on a creature or player, and furthermore, the poison counter expires in 2 turns. So not only do you need to keep track of your poison with the counters, you also need to keep track of the poison expiration separately. So imagine you're poisoned already, and then you get 2 more poison counters. So you got to keep track of which poison counters expire in 2 turns, which expire in 1 turn. It's just too much stuff to keep track of. I think it's a badly designed mechanic. Just the most blatant example of the kind of bad design here. I think it's kind of rushed. This game doesn't seem. I think they missed a few things. Maybe they can come out with a revised version or something that kind of fixes these quirks. But I just see it as too much stuff to keep track of, to be honest. And yeah, so the game is. I think the game's all right. The game's all right. Just too much stuff to keep track of. Hopefully they can revise that. But I want to bring up something else too. Collectability aspect. I think the cards. If you look on YouTube, they probably look just fine. I mean, to be honest, from a distance, the cards look fine. And actually, I really like this. This is my promo card. Manchac Swamp Priestess. Look at that Swamp Priestess. Wow, she's stunning. So that's a nice one right there. But my main complaint, once you start to handle these, you start to see that basically the card stock, the quality of the card stock, the quality of the printing is just not there. It's not up to par with Magic. It's not up to par with Flesh and Blood. If you look at the backs, look. I don't know if you can see just how flat yet mustard yellow this logo is. It just doesn't look. It doesn't look like a professionally printed Magic card. It's definitely worse. I don't know if it's probably partially the card stock, which is just not as high quality. Maybe partially the printing process, but the colors are definitely way flatter, way less detail. Like if you compare the back of a Magic card, to the back of a MetaZoo card, and you have all this texture and detail, like on the M, and you have the flat M's here, and maybe that's probably the best they can do with their card stock and their printing process. I mean, it's a little bit disappointing, to be honest. Like, you pay 150 bucks, this is what you expect. You expect, you know, high quality like Magic and Flesh and Blood, but you're getting a little bit lower quality, I'll be honest. Another thing, maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but you may notice that let's compare like the side of a Magic card to the side of a MetaZoo card. The MetaZoo sides are kind of tapered. I think the production process is different for the MetaZoo cards. I think they are completely die cut. Whereas Magic cards, I think they have, you know, sheet cutting blades, and then they use a corner cutter or a die cutter just for the corners. I think they're die cutting the complete MetaZoo card, and at least like jaggy edges and kind of tapered edges. I'll have a loop here. I don't know if you can kind of make that out. It's going to be tricky to see it on film, but you know, just handling the cards and looking at them, you know, looking at those edges, they just look a little bit wrong, like they feel strange, and you see like some jaggies on the MetaZoo edge versus the Magic edge, which is straight. I think it's because they use a die cutter. They use a die cutter all the way around, and that's what happens. And you know, let's talk about the card stock itself. I went ahead and, you know, you rip a Magic card. What do you see? You see the two layers with the glue layer in the middle. You know, same thing with Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood, I think, is also printed out card on Monday. So basically the same, maybe different color glue there, but it's basically two pieces of paper with the glue in the middle. And you look at the Flesh and Blood, and it's just, I don't know what this is, like cardboard. Like, this is weird. It's definitely not the same printing process. Definitely different paper, different process. So it seems like, I'll be honest with you folks, they cut corners here. They cut corners. You know, it's hard to blame them, I guess. Pandemic, you know, maybe hard to find help, hard to get the top tier printers working for you maybe when you're a startup. But you know, when you pay big money, you expect the industry standard quality. You'd expect like a Magic card quality card, and it's not there. And as a collectible, that's what kind of worries me the most. Like, you're going to pay a lot of money. You're going to pay, you know, money for these cards as collectibles, but basically the actual physical card can't really hold its own weight. So that's my big concern. As far as the game goes, you know, it's okay. Yeah, maybe they can fix it. I don't know. But the thing they can't fix, it's too late. The ship has sailed on this first edition, is the card stock, and that's the biggest disappointment for me as a collector. So overall, folks, I'm a little bit down on MetaZoo. Yeah, I don't, you know, I'm just one person, you know. I don't know. I can't say whether it's going to succeed or fail. I'll say for me personally, I had some disappointments here. I do kind of like the theme. It's all right. But like I said, folks, the game needs some work. The card stock needs some work. So, you know, I do want to say, though, I know it's a tough job to get build a game from scratch. So MetaZoo Games, yeah, you guys should be commended for, you know, doing a startup here, releasing these products. Obviously, you sold out your lot, so you're successful there. But keep working at it. You know, improve the card stock, improve the game, keep going. And I hope you guys can really put some pressure on Wizards because, you know, Wizards kind of getting greedy here. We need more card games, more competition. So keep at it, guys. I don't want to discourage you. Just keep working at it. You know, maybe MetaZoo Revised Edition will come out in some months and, you know, fix all these problems and it'll be good. So, you know what, folks? It's been TommyTopdecker here with MetaZoo. I hope you got some useful info. I hope you know all about MetaZoo now. It's been TommyTopdecker signing out.